Thanks for joining me for this week's vlog. As we close out the month of May, the month of mental health awareness, I wanted to read an excerpt from my book. I have two books. The first is titled My Last Step Backward, and this book is titled My Next Move Forward. As we look at mental health awareness, I wanted to read an excerpt about Logan from my book, and it starts here on page 201. It says, in 2014, a friend from high school, Emmy, lost her teenage son to every parent's worst fear, suicide. On December 14th, 2014, at the age of 14, Logan Hinrichs, a middle school student from Red Wing, Minnesota, took his own life. He never said, "I'm depressed." He wasn't a child who left warning signs, which are often identified in suicide prevention training. But there's no doubt he was hurting. 2 days after his mom's birthday, and just hours after he and his mom sang along to the radio while they drove down the road, Logan ended his life. I had only met Logan a couple times, but he always stood out to me as such a sweet, confident, handsome boy. When I found out that he had ended his life, I couldn't believe it. I had officiated the wedding of Emmy and Luke, a very loving stepdad to Logan, a couple of years earlier. Anticipating many students at the funeral, Emmy and Luke asked me to be a part of the eulogy and to share my story in hopes that this might help prevent another tragedy among young listeners. Despite all of her pain, Emmy was thinking of others. She wanted them to know that ending it all was not the answer, that Logan should have reached out for help. Speaking at Logan's funeral was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I had cried uncontrollably since I had first heard the news, and I felt I would not be able to find my voice. With prayers for strength, I pulled it together, but I knew that I never wanted to do something like this ever again. Logan was 14 years old, and he had such a bright future in front of him. Nothing is more tragic to me than an unnecessary loss of young life. Afterward, I started hearing the statistics on youth and those who take their own lives. Statistics like suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people every year. As numbers unfolded, I began to read more stories of kids taking their lives, even as young as 8 years old. Names and faces replaced statistics. I knew that we needed to do something. Doug and I seemed to have the same thought simultaneously. We cannot sit back and watch this continue without taking some kind of action. Hence, the PITCrew movement was born. In researching suicide, we found the most unifying theme to be loneliness. They feel that no one cares about them and they just want the pain to stop. I knew this feeling. It was painful to take a step back there, back to the hospital room where I faced the tragic loss of mobility and struggled to heal, to breathe, and to say goodbye to a body I would no longer have full control over. I knew what it felt like to wish I had died on the concrete floor. However, I also knew the joy in fighting the despair embedded in such loss. I knew the exhilaration that came from winning a battle to overcome dread and loss while learning to move forward. Empathy is powerful. After a lot of searching, Doug and I knew one thing: the PITCrew movement had to connect people. And so as I close in that reading, the PITCrew movement was something that we were really passionate about, and it has evolved into the PATH curriculum. And I still speak about the PITCrew when I speak, but in the curriculum, there is a PITCrew team board. And it's something that I just want to encourage you today, that if you're struggling, I want you to figure out, I want you to write down who are the people on your PITCrew team. Who are the people that you can reach out to? What are the numbers to the suicide hotline? Whether you're struggling or not, knowing these things can help you in times where you're struggling. And so if you lack support, I really want to advise you to seek out and begin to tell others that you have these people on your PITCrew team. I mean, there's no greater compliment to a friend, a teacher, a coach, a parent, a leader that you admire. And so today I want you to reach out and tell someone, you are on my PITCrew team. Not only will it remind you that people are there for you, but that will be a great compliment. So thank you for joining me today as we wrap up this month in mental health awareness. If you missed my past vlogs, I encourage you to check them out. And just know today, as the theme that I've been trying to share this month, is that there's help, there's resources, and that it is okay to speak out, to reach out for help. Thanks for joining me. See you next week.